Right. So can you confirm if my screen is visible? I think it's visible. Great. Okay, let's get it started. So let me quickly take you back to the paint screen. So okay, today we are going to discuss about yesterday we have completed the tree map. Right. Today we will start discussing about the hash table. See guys, this hash table is very easy because we have already discussed about the hash map. So this hash table is just similar to hash map, but in the interview room you will get a question like, okay, this is very important question. Keep a note of this. The difference between hash map versus hash table. Very famous interview question. So we will understand what is hash table. Then you can do the comparison with the hash map. There are some differences in the concept of synchronization and in the capacity and in the threshold. Some key differences are there. We will try to understand how the hash table works internally and what is the hash table. Right, let us get it started. So I want to open the notepad. Okay. Right. So yesterday we have done with the tree map. So today the topic is what? Hash table. Hash table. So let me repeat it once again. Hash table is just similar to hash map. It is very similar to hash map, but you will find some key differences. Okay, you need to pay attention to the key differences. When I say key differences, the first difference that you have, like when you compare this hash table with hash map, this hash table is introduced. Right? It was introduced in JDK 1.0 version. The moment when Java was introduced, this hash table API is also there. This hash table class is also introduced along with the JDK 1.0. So when something has got introduced in JDK 1.0, you call it as what? The legacy. So it is called as the legacy map. Right? And the purpose of introducing hash table is just to store the data in the form of key value pair. It stores the data in the form of what? In the form of key value pair. All the map concepts. Okay, when you take all the classes that are falling under map, okay, their purpose is to store the data in the form of key value pair. You should not forget this. Okay, everything under map is going to store the data in the form of what? Key value pair. Key value. Okay, the third point is also clear. Okay, I can add one more point just by looking at this map hierarchy. One more point that I can add is hash table implements the map interface. So this is another point that I can add. So we know this. Okay, by looking at the just by looking at this, we can keep adding some points. Right. So hash table implements map interface. Okay, 4 points are added successfully. So let me go back to the Eclipse editor. So let us try to find the differences between the hash map and the hash table. Okay, firstly I want to take hash map of string type, and I want to add something like let me add students equal to new hash map. Okay, so I have taken what? I have created an object for the hash map, and I also want to create an object for the hash table also. Hash table. And this hash table is going to accept the key value pair. Both are string type. And let me take animals equal to new hash. A very typical example to understand the difference between hash map and the hash table. right? If you see, okay, let me try to add something in the students dot put. If you want to add the data in the key as well as in the value, you need to use put method, right? The put method. So the first information that we want to add is Chennai, or I can say that students, right? So name of the student and the location. Location is Chennai. Okay. One set of data has been added, and I want to add another set of data, and this time I want to add someone like Sagar from Hyderabad. Okay. I want to add one more information, one more key value pair, Shashwant, and let us say that Shashwant is from Bangalore. Okay. And if you look at the when you want to add data by using the put method, there is no difference between the HashMap as well as the HashTable. Okay, but you need to remember one point. Okay, the first difference that you have is for the HashMap. When you create an object for the HashMap, by default it is going to, the initial capacity is going to be what, 16. I hope you remember this. Okay, as soon as you do this with the HashMap, you know this already, isn't it? As soon as you do this with the HashMap, a memory allocation will happen behind the scenes. Oh, how much memory it is going to allocate? It's going to create an array of size what? Array of size 16. These are the internal things, right? So this is going to create an array of size 16. So this is a default capacity. This is the initial capacity of HashMap. But when you do the same thing with HashTable, the HashTable is following a different default capacity. Unlike HashMap, the default capacity is 16. Okay, the moment you do this, 16, the array will be created of size 16. Okay? And the moment you create an object by using the HashTable, the default capacity is different. Okay, it is not same as HashMap. The HashTable is going to follow a default capacity of 11. You need to remember this. So this is one of the major differences. Okay, an array will be created of size 11. So indexing will start from 0 to 10. So we know this. The indexing always starts from 0 to 10. It always starts from 0. And when you count this, it is going to be 11. And when you count the default capacity of HashMap, it is going to be 16. This is going to be what? You can count. If you keep counting this, you will get 16 boxes, 16 spaces. Okay, this is one of the major differences that you have, right? And you have added some data already. So in our example, I have added 3 student information along with the location. So run this, right? So I get something in the console. Okay, so the output is not, it is not going to follow the sorted order or insertion order. Internally it is using what mechanism? Hashing mechanism. So the data, you cannot expect the output in the insertion order or the sorted order. Okay, output will be in the random order because internally it is using what? Hashing mechanism, right? But here, if the one more difference, in the HashMap you are allowed to add, okay, you are allowed to add a data, right? The key can be null, the value can also be null. It is completely accepted for the HashMap, no issues. Okay, HashMap accepts the null key and the null value, right? But okay, let us deal with this HashTable also. I want to add few animals dot put. Okay, and let us say that the first animal, let it be tiger. Okay, tiger in India, tiger is famous in West Bengal. Okay, I want to add 2 more key value pair, 2 more information in the form of key value pair by using HashTable. So the second piece of animal I want to add is lion. In India, most of the lions are in Gujarat, right? And animals dot put. I want to add something like deer. It's found abundantly in Western Ghats. Well, I can say that. Let me take it as Tamil Nadu. It is found everywhere. So there is no specificity. Okay, so I have added 3 animals by using HashTable. So this is the key value pair information. This is just a data, right? And when I try to print the reference variable of HashTable, so you get the output, but you cannot expect the output in the sorted order or in the insertion order. It's not going to follow both. Okay, it is not following the sorted order, or it is not also not following the insertion order, right? But in the HashTable, in the HashMap, you are allowed to add the null key as well as the null value. When you try to do the same thing with the HashTable, right, it is going to throw the null pointer exception. It's going to throw what? Null pointer exception. By this, I can conclude that null key as well as the null value both are not allowed. Okay, it is not accepted in the HashMap. Okay? If I try to add only the null key, it is not accepted. It is not going to accept. And if I try to add only the null value, even null value is also not accepted. Monkey is found everywhere, right? So I would like to add the null value for the key monkey. For the key monkey, I want to add the null value. No, it is not accepted. So this is one of the difference. What is first difference? First difference, we have found it what? The initial capacity, this is going to be 16 and the HashTable is going to be 11. The second difference is you can add null key and the null value in the HashMap. Maximum you can add one null key and you can add many number of null values. But if you do the same thing with the HashTable, it is not accepted. Okay, why it is not accepted? Because in the beginning they thought that when they were designing the HashTable, they thought that the null key is going to create complexity, or they thought that it is not advantageous. It's not as advantageous to add the null key, right? So that's why they removed. They just thought that they do not want to increase the complexity. This is just a kind of design pattern. So they designed the HashTable in such a way that it is not going to accept either null key or the null value. So they have written logic accordingly. So when you try to put null key, it is not accepted. This is just a kind of functionality where you are not supposed to add either a null key or the null value for the HashTable. But same thing will work for HashMap. Right? These are the two major differences, and we will look into the internal functionality of HashTable one by one. Okay, let me remove this. We will try to understand how this HashTable works internally. Okay, this time I want to take a meaningful example. I want to take countries. So let me add countries. If you have an option to let people in, you can add in. Okay, please focus here. This is going to be very interesting and it is going to be very, very important. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So I have some data. I want to add that data in the form of key value pair. Okay, so by using HashTable. So if you look at this program, okay, this program is very easy to understand, isn't it? I have a class and I have a method. So the method is main method. Inside this main method, I have added a piece of line. Okay, I have created an object by using HashTable. And this too, okay, when I say string, it is representing the what kind of data that you can add in the key and what kind of data that you can add for the values. So both are of string type. So I want to add some countries. Okay, I want to add the country name as key and I want to add the country capital as the value. Okay, so the moment I do this, okay, the moment you add this, when you run this, okay, what you will see in the console when you run this, nothing will be there in the console. It is going to be empty. Okay? So I just want to print something in the console. So that something is going to be what? Nothing, empty. Yeah, I'm trying to print the reference variable of countries. So which is going to be what? We did not add any data. Obviously, the output is going to be empty. Because of these two instructions, what are the things that is going to happen behind the scenes? We will understand that first. Listen, okay. So the same thing which I have just explained before. Okay, we do not want this. Okay, and I want this to be right. So this is our code. right? So in the main method we have this as the first instruction. So this is our first instruction, and this instruction is going to do something behind the scenes. Okay, it is going to create an hash table of size. Default capacity of hash table is 11. Please remember, default capacity of hash table is 11. So an array of size 11 will be created just because of this line. Okay, an array of size 11 will be created, and this array is going to be named as what countries, right? Now you see, I want to add few countries here, guys. Okay, firstly I want to add countries. Like, let us add all the countries. Countries dot put countries dot put. So by using put method you can add. Okay, let us add our country India, and what's the capital of our country? Delhi. Right. So I want to add a few other countries. The second country I want it to be Russia. The capital of Russia, we know it, Moscow. Right. So let us add another countries dot put. We add let us add Kenya, one of the African countries. The capital of Kenya is Nairobi. Right. So let us keep this very simple, and let us add one more country, last country, countries dot put. I want to add Japan. The capital of Japan is what? Tokyo. We are not discussing geography here. We are discussing the internal working of hash table. So 4 countries are added. Okay, the moment I run this, so you get the data in the form of key value pair. So now what is happening behind the scenes? Okay, so let us bring these lines of code into the paint brush. So these are the details. These are the data that I want to add by using the hash table. Okay, so we are using the put method. So put method is designed in such a way that, okay, the moment you use put method, so this is the put method. Okay, the moment you use put method will will take the key. What is the key that we have? India. The first data is key, second data is value. The key is what? India. Okay, the key will be converted to an hash code. Okay, after this conversion, okay, so the key will get converted to an hash code, and after having it converted to the hash code, this hash code will go through an operation called modular operation. Okay, after going through this modular operation, there will be an index number generated. Every key, the moment you use put method, okay, the put method will take the key, will consider the key, and that key will be converted to what? That key will be converted to an hash code, and after that what happens? That hash code will go through the modular operation, and it is going to get a unique index number. Okay? This concept is called as this consequence, what we call it as this flow is called as what? The hashing mechanism. Hashing mechanism, right? So let us do the same thing. This will happen behind the scenes. You are doing only one thing. You are doing what you are doing. Countries output. You are adding the key as India or adding the value as Delhi. It will go through all the operation, all these operations for the country, for the key India. Right. So the formula to find the hash code is integer, hash equal to the key. You need to pass the key, and you need to use the hash code method, which is available in the Java library. Hash code method. Right. This key will get an unique hash code, and unique hash code will be given to this particular key. Don't worry about this. We'll get this. Unique hash code will be given to this particular key, right? Then to generate the index number, okay, you need to get this hash code to you need to perform the modular operation. This is the formula to perform the modular operation. Size is 11, default capacity is 11 minus 1. So this is the formula to perform the modular operation, right? We will do the same thing in the Java. So you do not have to do this. We are just trying to understand the internal working. Okay, so don't do this in the program. Internal working, right? So first hash, so string. I am taking string. I am outcoding. I am passing the key as India. Okay, this is kind of internal things I am explaining you. You do not have to do all these things. Okay, you will understand how this data is getting stored in the array. So string key equal to India, and we want to what? If you look at the picture, the India has to this country has to get converted to what? Hash code, right? So I'm taking a variable as hash, and this key needs to get converted to what? We need to find the hash code for the key. Okay, so India will be applied on this hash code method. You will call hash code method on the key. You will get a random number. Let us print what is that random number that we are getting. Then we will have to what? Perform the modular operation to get the index number. For that, you need to use the hash code followed by the AND operator followed by the size of the default size of the hash table minus 1. Let us also print the index number that is getting generated. Okay, let me run this code. Okay, so this piece of information is what? The hash code, right? And this is what the index number. Index number is what? 2. Right? So we have got an index number. So see, you cannot use this hash code as an index number because it is very large number. Even though this is unique, the number is very large. So you cannot use it as the index number because the size of the default capacity of the hash table is what? Only 11. Okay, the indexing starts from 0 to 10. So you need to generate a number in such a way that it falls between 0 to 10. For that, what you are doing here, you are using the modular operation. You are using this formula. At any cost, a number will be generated that will be exactly between 0 to 10. It will not go above that or go below that. Right? So you got what? So this is the, okay, let me go back to the code. Okay, because of this first line, okay, you got few information. So let us try to save that few information in the form of node. Okay, this is what the information that you have. Okay, you got the key. The key is what? India. Okay, the value is what? Delhi. Okay, all this set of information is going to be stored in that particular index. The hash code. What is that? What is the hash code that we have got? This is the hash code, hash number, isn't it? Okay, let us copy and paste it here. And node next means it is going to store the address of the next node. For the time being, you always mark it as null. I will tell you why it is null. Okay, so this information needs to be stored in a particular index. What is the index that we have got that has been generated for this particular hashing mechanism? Index number is 2, right? So this piece of information will be stored exactly in the second index. Are you getting this? This is what this will happen internally. So, and if you look at this particular array, this particular block of space, okay, it is not holding one data. It is holding the combination of key, value, hash code as well as the address of the next node. So you're not storing one information, you're storing 4 pieces of information. So you don't call this as node anymore. You call this as what? A bucket. Why you call it as bucket? Because ideally you're not storing one information, you're storing a set of information. That's why instead of pronouncing it as node, you pronounce it as was bucket. Each and every space is called as what? Bucket. Right? So the first line is clear. The second line, okay? So again you're using a put method. Put method is what? It has Russia as the key. So this time you have to remove India, right? This Russia has to go through this hashing mechanism because since it is a key, right? So Russia has to get converted to hash code followed by modular operation, and it will get an index number will be generated. It's very easy, no? Just change this to Russia. Copy this key and change this to Russia, right? And run this. And when you run this, okay, you are getting an hash code as something like a negative number, and the index number is 10, right? And you got the index number as 10. So the how this data is going to get stored in the bucket? Very simple. Okay, it is going to store by using these 4 variable names, which are, okay, so the key is what? Russia. The value is Moscow. Okay, and hash code is what? What is the hash code that we have? A negative, a big number, a negative number. I mean a very small number in negative. So this is the hash code. Okay, the node next is going to be null. Why it is going to be null, I will tell. Okay, so what is the bucket number that has been generated because of this hashing mechanism for the put method? So this is the bucket number. Bucket number is 10. Okay, so this information will be stored exactly in the 10th bucket. Right? So done. Only 2 more things are pending. So countries dot put Kenya as a key and Nairobi. So now you remove this Russia. Okay, now the Kenya has to go through the hashing mechanism, right? So go back to the code. Instead of Russia, change this to Kenya. Just copy and paste it, right? And you get something here, right? The hash code is something like this, and the index number or the bucket number is 8, right? And go back here, and we need to import every time, isn't it? This is just for your understanding, okay? If someone is asking you the internal working, you must be in a position to answer them, okay? So the Kenya followed by the value Nairobi and hash code, okay? Hash code will also be stored, okay? And the node next is null. Okay, this information, okay, this solid information has to be stored in the bucket number 8 because that was the generated bucket number by using the hashing mechanism. So this is where the 8th bucket is. So it will be stored here. Right, now the last piece of information, what is it? Japan and Tokyo, right? So let us change this to, let us find the hashing mechanism for the Japan. Okay, now if you see the hash code is something like this and the bucket number is something like 2, right? Now go back to the paintbrush and I'm sorry, file canvas from your file value. We need this. Okay, the key is Japan. So the value is Tokyo. And hash code, what is the hash code that we got? Let us copy and paste it directly. So this is the hash code, right? And this is going to be null. Okay, now if you observe one thing here, you got the bucket number as 2. You got the bucket number as 2. Okay, it will try to occupy the second bucket. Okay, but if you observe here, there are some values that is occupied already by a different key, which is India. Okay, and Japan is also trying to occupy the same bucket. So what is happening here exactly? Collusion is happening here. So this concept is called as what? Hash collusion. We call it as what? Collusion. What is hash collusion? So when someone is asking what is hash collusion, when more than one key in the hash table gets hashed to the same bucket number. It has the same bucket number, and you call it as, and it is called as hash collusion. So how to avoid hash collusion? So with the concept of chaining, there's a concept called chaining. Okay? With the concept of chaining, you can avoid hash collusion. So for the chaining, you will use linked list to link the keys that are hashed to the same, okay, number. Okay, so what you are going to do, so you have a key, a Japan, which is getting hashed to the same bucket number which was there for India, right? So a linked list will be created. What will happen? So let me rename this bucket. Okay, let me remove this part. Everything is a bucket. A linked list will be created. Okay, a kind of a node will be created externally, and this is going to get stored in that node, but it is going to get a reference from the previous bucket, from the existing bucket. That's it. A linked list will be created, and again if you add another country, if that another country is also getting hashed to the same bucket number, a linked list will be created. This is going to point here. Okay, and again if another country is getting hashed to the same bucket, it is going to keep creating the linked list like this. So this happens rarely, but when it is happening, this is what happens internally. A kind of linked list pattern will be created. So I was telling previously we were adding the node next as null. Okay, the moment the linked list is created, this null will become next. This null will become next. Next means it is ideally pointing to the next node or the next bucket. Are you getting this? So what we are discussing just now, we got to know what is an hash collusion. What is an hash collusion? When more than one key in the hash table gets hashed to the same bucket number, and it is called as hash collusion, because both are colliding, both are trying to fight for the same bucket number. So there is a collusion there. To avoid hash collusion, internally they are using a concept called chaining. Okay, what does the chaining means? They thought to use the linked list. They started using the linked list to avoid the collusion. Okay, so that when you call the bucket number 2, it is going to find the key. It is going to search for the key, and you will get the specific output in the console. I will tell you how it will happen. For now, try to understand what is hash collusion and what is chaining. If you get interview questions like this, it is very easy to answer now. You can answer with your imagination, with your visualization. Right now, what I am trying to do, at last I am trying to print all the countries, so all the countries will be displayed in the console. So far things are so good. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to introduce one more thing, right? So here we have added 4 elements. We have added how many elements? 4 elements. So let us go back to the theory. Fifth point is we got to know what is an initial capacity. Initial capacity of the hash table is what? 11. Right? And there is also a concept called the load factor. The load factor of the hash table is 0.75%. Okay, and the 7th point, the threshold the hash table The threshold, I will tell you what is the threshold is current capacity into load factor. Okay. So what is the current capacity? The default capacity itself is a current capacity. 11 into load factor is 0.75 percentage. It's going to give you something like 8.25. At 8.25. And please be informed that the threshold value will be rounded off to the nearest integer, and when you do so, you will get what? You will get 8 as the threshold. Now the question should be, what is the threshold? The question is, what is the threshold? Okay. So see, the moment you start adding elements, guys, okay, so the capacity of Hashtable is 11, right? The capacity of Hashtable is 11. You have added one element, okay, you have added second element, you have added third element, like that. I'll go to canvas from a file, okay, Hashtable. Let's try to understand this. Okay. When I say threshold as 8, you got something like threshold. When I say threshold as 8, so you started adding the first element somewhere here. It has got added here. Second element got added here. Third element got added. Fourth element, fifth element, sixth element, seventh element, eighth element. So far good. Okay. As soon as it crosses the threshold, how it is going to cross the threshold? The moment you start adding the ninth element. Okay, the Hashtable size will be doubled. Okay, instead of 11, the new capacity will become what? 22. The size, it is going to resize itself. Resizing will happen in such a way that the doubling of Hashtable will happen. So previously the size is 11. As soon as it crosses its threshold, the threshold is 8. The moment you add the ninth element, firstly the size of the Hashtable is going to become double. Okay, then the ninth element will be added. So this concept is called as what? Load factor. As soon as the 75% of the Hashtable is filled, the size is going to be doubled. Hope you're able to understand this. We do not want to deal with this. Let me remove. Okay. Right. The seventh point. Okay. And the eighth point, you cannot add the null keys or the null values inside the or by using the Hashtable. Hashtable. When you add it, you will get what? Null pointer exception. We have just discussed that. The eighth point is also clear. Internally, it uses hashing mechanism to store, retrieve, or delete elements. Now you see, guys, one thing. So far we are trying to add elements in the form of key value pair. So far we just try to add elements in the form of key value. Okay, now I want to do an experiment here. I want to do what? I want to retrieve an element. I want to retrieve an element by using the reference variable countries dot get. I need to pass something like object. Okay, let us say that I want to pass something like India here. Okay, I want to get the value for the key India. I want to get the value for the key India. Even for the retrieval operation, this operation is called as what? Retrieval operations. Behind the scenes, okay, let me take this code and put it into the paintbrush. This is my new code, retrieval operation. Okay, for the retrieval operation, you are using a method called get method. Okay, and again this get method will convert the key. Okay, it will go through all the steps. Okay, let me remove this. So you want to get the value for the country India. Focus here, guys. India. This India will get converted to hash code, and due to the modular operation, same thing will happen. Okay, when it is going to go through the same thing, definitely the index number will not change. Yes or no? Index number is going to be same, right? If I change this to India, even for the get method, it will go through the hashing mechanism, and this is going to generate something, an hash code, right, followed by the bucket number. Bucket number is 2. Bucket number is 2. You are getting something like, I will tell you why you are getting it. Bucket number is 2, right? So directly it will try to identify the bucket number 2. So bucket number 2 is here. But inside the bucket number 2, there are two pieces of information, two pieces of key information. You have the country India as well as you have the country Japan. Okay. Now what it will do? It will use the dot t equals method. It will use what? It will use equals method to identify if the India is available or not. Okay. So by using the equals method, because there are two set of information here, India is there as well as Japan is there. So how does the Java knows that which value should be retrieved? For that, internally it will use equals method. By using the equals method, it will identify the exact key India, and for the key India there is a value called what? Delhi. Delhi will be returned in the console. So that's why you are getting what in the console? You are getting Delhi in the console. Okay, so let us do another thing. I want to retrieve something like Sri Lanka. So these countries are fine. India, Russia, Kenya, and Japan are fine. They are already there. They are existed. Sri Lanka is not there. Sri Lanka is not there. No issues. Even for the Sri Lanka, what happens? Okay, it is going to follow the hashing mechanism. For the Sri Lanka, it is going to follow the hashing mechanism. So it has got a number, something like an hash code has got, and an index number 8 has got. So what is index number that has got? 8, right? It will try to go to the index number 8, and it will use dot equals method to find if there is Sri Lanka or not. Okay? In the index number 8, in the bucket number 8, there is a country called Kenya. There is no country called Sri Lanka. If there is no such country, it is going to return something like what? Null in the console. So that's why we got null here. You see, we got null here. Forget about this code. This is the internal thing. We just run this. Till here, you get what? Null. So Sri Lanka is not there. Sri Lanka is not there. So this is the functionality of get method. And there is another there is another method called remove method. For example, I want to remove country Kenya. Even for the remove method, it is going to follow the hashing mechanism, right? So the moment you give this instruction to the Java, so you are asking Java to remove the country Kenya, which is stored in the hash table. So you want to remove the country Kenya. Okay, now this Kenya has to go through the hashing mechanism. So this is the procedure. Okay, so Kenya will be converted to hash code and modular operation, and you get index number, isn't it? Right? So let us try to do this thing. Okay, let us run this. Okay, so you got what? This is the hash code, and this is the bucket number is 8. Bucket number has been identified as 8. Directly it will go to the 8th index, and there is a country called Kenya here, right? Kenya here. So you're trying to do what? You're trying to remove Kenya. You're trying to remove the key. Okay. So it will be removed. This will be deleted. At the time of deleting, it will return the country. It will return the value which is Nairobi, saying that the country, the key has been removed successfully. Okay, that's why in the console you are getting Nairobi in the console. Okay. So let me remove all this. Let us print the values after removing the country. Let us print the values exactly that is found after removing the country. We do not want to deal with this. I'm using the remove method. I'm removing the key Kenya, right? When I do this, this is the actual list of countries. Kenya was there, followed by Russia, India, and Japan. And this instruction is removing Kenya. At the time of removing, it is returning you something. It is returning you what? Its value. When key is removed, it is going to return its value, Nairobi. And again, after removing, you're trying to print. Now Kenya is no more. Kenya is not existed in the database. So for what I'm trying to say is, you can perform the three major operations. For the major operations are insert operation, retrieve operation, and delete operation. For all these operations, it is following what? This hashing mechanism. Right. So when you get an interview question like what is the default capacity, you are capable to answer now. It is 11. What is the load factor? 0.75. And what is hash pollution? You are capable to answer now. What is chaining? How to avoid hash pollution? Okay, chaining is also called as to avoid hash pollution. How to avoid hash pollution? By using the concept of chaining, which is what? Using a linked list. Pollution. Right, so this is the internal working of what? Hash table. And if you go back here, I need to make few more points here. 10th point is, it will not follow sorted order, will not follow insertion order. Right, for example, if I want to add what? The duplicate key. So I want to add the India once again. So the capital of India is not Delhi, isn't it? I want to make some changes. The capital of India is New Delhi. So in the colonial era, it was Delhi. So after it has been changed to what? New Delhi, right? So when I do this operation, the Delhi has been replaced. Okay, the key is going to be same. The value is getting replaced. So whenever you are adding a duplicate, we do not want to deal with this anymore. So I'm trying to add a duplicate now. How the duplicate is going to manipulate the database? That is the question. So previously we have for this duplicated element, a hash code will be generated followed by the index number. It is going to get the same bucket number like this, and the existing India, okay, the existing India will be replaced by new India along with its value. Previously the value was Delhi. Now this time it is going to be what? New Delhi. A replacement will happen, guys. That's it. Apart from that, nothing. Existing data will be replaced by the new data. Right. So duplicates are eliminated this way. Right. So duplicate keys are not allowed. Does that mean that duplicates values are allowed? We will check that also. I can't be checked that. So let us try to add Moscow 2 times. So duplicate values are allowed, duplicate keys are not allowed. So this is the conclusion. Okay, values are okay. The important points are, let us go back to the hash map. So the only difference that we are going to have is for the hash map. Let me copy all these points. So these points are going to be completely opposite with respect to the hash map. So in the hash map, you have this point such as, okay, so let us remove this. Let's add that point lastly. So the 12th point for the hash map is not synchronized map, but the hash table is a synchronized map. So no methods in the hash map is synchronized in nature. Most of the methods in hash table is synchronized, just opposite. It follows parallel execution. So this is going to follow what? Sequential execution. It's not thread safe. Hashtable is a thread safe. Its performance is high, but here the performance is low. There will be no data consistency. There will be data consistency, which is guaranteed. Okay. If anyone is asking you the difference between Hashtable and the HashMap, we have already found the difference because already we have discussed about HashMap. Right? So these are the HashMap. These are the points of HashMap. You can have the comparison. Okay. This is Hashtable versus HashMap. Here you have the difference. Version wise you have difference, legacy map, okay, and you have a difference with the initial capacity and the threshold. So there are so many difference from here, and you cannot add null keys and values. Here you can have null keys and null values. Let's go through this points. The interview question will be answered. What is the difference between HashMap and HashMap? I will add this in the description. You can have a look at it. This is very important for the interview. When you are giving an interview, make sure that you are doing what? You are reading this and go. So do you have any questions for me? If you do not have any questions, we can wind